Well, looks like my Digimon couples list is one of my most watched videos. I guess shipping really is serious business. But no, seriously, I'm glad you all really like that list. It's one of the more self-indulgent videos I've ever made, and I'm glad it was so well received. And a lot of the comments I got were along the same lines. More Daiken, please. Whether you see them as a couple or really good friends, it's hard to deny the strong connection between them. And because I'm sure I'll never get tired of talking about Digimon, let's take a closer look at one of the reasons why so many fans were disappointed with that epilogue.
Right.
The top 10 Daiken moments in 02.
Let's get to work.
Number 10. I don't consider Digimon a guilty pleasure. Even with all the corny jokes and general ridiculousness, the stories and characters and concepts are still strong enough that, for the most part, I feel absolutely no shame as an adult watching it. That said, there are aspects of the franchise that I would consider a guilty pleasure, and this right here, this is one of them. 02 gave us an actual rescue scenario where Ken gets kidnapped and Davis has to literally ride up on his white horse to save him, even though Ragermon is not white. Or a horse, you know what I mean. Most notable about this scene is when Oikawa goes to copy the Dark Spore from Ken, and Ken says this.
Where's Davis? Or Mon?
Notice that it's Davis's name he calls first. And no, for once I don't consider this to be reading too much into it. The fact that Davis is the first one to come to Ken's mind, the first person he calls for, is incredibly significant. He calls out Davis's name before his own partners, in a franchise built around the idea that human and Digimon partners are meant to be lifelong soulmates who understand and love each other unconditionally. This isn't a dub change either, it's in the original dialogue.
Let's get to work.
Number 9.
We need your help. After all, you're one of us Digi-destined.
Huh? Me? A Digi-destined?
Davis is the first one to forgive Ken, and he's adamant about asking Ken to join the team. He insists to the other Digi-destined that Ken really is a good person, and when he gets no support from any of them, he goes ahead and asks Ken to join the team anyway. That is how much Davis believes the team is incomplete without Ken. That is how much he believes in Ken. And okay, this one is a small one, I didn't even notice it for the longest time, but bear with me. After the world tour, everyone returns to Japan, worn out and tired, only able to speculate about where their enemies will strike next. And it's Davis who, quite unexpectedly, offers some wise and well-chosen words of advice to the group. Well, it's unexpected to everyone except for one person. Yeah, it's blink and you miss it, but while everyone else is gaping about how suddenly smart-sounding Davis is, Ken is just standing there smiling calmly. Because he knows Davis is smart. He believes in Davis and understands Davis completely, and sees Davis for who he really is, just like how Davis sees Ken for who he really is.
That's right, just one big happy family.
I don't know. Let's get to work.
Number 8.
Don't even think about it! No way!
The whole Daemon Core subplot was pretty clumsily handled. Daemon appears without any kind of setup to give us yet another explanation for Ken's evil brainwashing, and then disappears before this plot point can be resolved. It might have been nice to maybe have his whole story and the deal with the Dark Spores explored a little bit more, but no one can say this run of episodes is completely without memorable moments.
Stay strong, Ken! I know you have a lot of pain and confusion inside of you over the things you did as a Digimon Emperor! But you're not that person anymore, Ken!
Aww, I don't care how sappy that is. I love this moment. And though all the kids are there supporting Ken, it's Davis who really pulls Ken up out of his despair, reminding him how far he's come, that he's done so much for the team, that he can't give in to doubt and fear. This is also why Davis is just generally one of my favorite characters ever. He sees the best in people, even when they can't see it in themselves.
Don't let fear and guilt rule your life anymore! We're here with you!
Let's get to work.
Number 7.
Use the crest of kindness!
The what?
Oh yeah!
The whole point of DNA digivolution is to combine the thoughts and emotions of two human partners so that their Digimon can fuse and become stronger. Unfortunately, 02 didn't do nearly as much as it could have done with that setup, with Kari and Yolee's bonding moment having little real emotional depth and TK and Cody's having none at all. But whatever character development was lacking with those other two was made up for tenfold by Davis and Ken. After XVmon and Stingmon fuse, Davis and Ken are in perfect sync in words and actions, and they're the only two to have this happen. Davis's offer of friendship to Ken afterwards and his reaction when Ken walks away feels an awful lot like he's just been rejected. Oh yeah, and then they both go home that night and lie awake thinking about each other and everything that happened. Just listen to Daisuke's dialogue.
そうだろ、そうだよな。あいつは感じなかったのかな。
And Ken isn't a whole lot better.
僕にはお前しかいないと思っていたのに、元宮のデジモンと合体するなんて。
Let's get to work.
NumberSix.
Hey, Ken, is your leg all right? Sorry about that tackle. I guess I caught you off guard.
There was a lot of build up to this game, with Davis anxious to play the famous genius boy from the rival school. And we, as the audience, knew what exactly Ken saw in the match, knowing his identity as the Emperor. Ken runs circles around Davis's team, but Davis manages to get one good shot against him. Not to win the game or even come close to a tie, just one good shot against Ken. And then afterwards they have this conversation wherein Davis gets all flustered and awkward and Ken recognizes Davis as a worthy adversary. Davis isn't even upset about losing the game, he's just happy that Ken remembered his name.
Until we meet again in battle.
Huh? We're the adversary.
Let's get to work.
NumberFive.
The area next to Tomachi Station in Tokyo.
Did he say Tomachi?
I distinctly remember this scene because the first time I watched 02 all the way through, it was right about here that I seriously started shipping these two. The 02 Digidestined all lived pretty close to each other, probably for practical reasons since a good part of the series takes place in the real world. And the exception is Ken, who lives across the river, and yes, while the symbolism is pretty obvious, I'll buy it. And when Davis hears that Digimon have appeared in Tomachi, his very first thought is...
That's where Ken lives!
I mean, yeah, all the Digidestined are close. They're all friends. They have all got each other's backs and they all help each other out, but remember how I said the big thing about Davis and Ken's relationship is how devoted they are to each other? It's also a nice illustration of the difference between Davis and Ty's leadership styles. Ty is all the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, and Davis is all, but every innocent life is important.
He's not an individual, he's one of us!
It's a significant moment for other reasons, too. In Japanese, it's the first time that Ken's called Daisuke by his first name.
Daisuke!
Let's get to work.
NumberFour.
Your hand! It's shaking!
I can't help it, I'm afraid.
This is a perfectly nice moment in the English dub, where Ken expresses his fear over what's just happened and Davis gives him an encouraging pep talk about not letting fear control his life. It's a good sentiment, but it's nothing we haven't heard from Davis before, and it's not nearly as strong as the original dialogue. Think about what Daisuke is saying here. Daisuke doesn't give up, he charges in, he gives his all, and his do-or-die attitude carries the team for most of the series. But after hearing the doubt and fear in Ken's voice and feeling his shaking hand, he actually begs Ken to stop. Because if Ken keeps going on like this, it's going to throw Daisuke off his game. Think about that. 50-foot monsters have no effect on Daisuke. Ken does.
Now don't say another word, Ken. I know that you're afraid, but you can't give in to it. You can't let fear control you.
Let's get to work.
NumberThree.
Hey, get over here and join us. Hey, what you got there?
Well,
The English dub changed the dialogue twice in this episode to shift Davis's focus onto Kari, where it was originally on Ken. The first case is here.
Ken, you should try to laugh more often.
Huh? Thanks a lot.
But in Japanese, that line was this.
一条寺くんがそんな風に笑うの初めて見た。
そうだっけ?
I like the implication that Daisuke is surprised that Hikari has never seen Ken smile before. Because of course he's seen Ken smile before. It also gives a slightly different context to that blush on Ken's face. The second moment comes at the end of the episode, after Ken's friends have walked him to the train station. In the dub, Davis makes some comment that he didn't get to kiss Kari under the mistletoe. The original exchange went like this.
一条寺君って感じ変わってきたわね。ですよね。
そうか？俺はあんまりわかんねえけどな。
Daisuke can't understand why the others say that Ken has changed so much, because he's always understood who Ken really was. He's always known that Ken was capable of kindness and friendship, and just wanted a second chance. He understands Ken perfectly, and that's something that, of all the Jogress partners, only he and Ken seem to share.
It was short, but it was fun.
We had a great time, Ken.
Me too, thanks. Let's get to work.
Number 2.
Kari, don't worry, Kari. I'm coming to save you. I won't let you
going
go,
on the
Kari.
internet. You're
Hang
going
on
to do what
my
Izzy
way.
says.
Get off. You can't tell me what to do.
Ah, Revenge of Diaboramon, every Daiken shipper's dream come true. The whole movie is basically them running around the city, fighting battles, emotionally supporting each other, and engaging in general shenanigans. Oh man, there are just so many great Daiken moments in this movie. If I had to pick one favorite, it would probably be this.
I'm totally wiped out. I think I need a timeout.
At this rate, you'll never be able to steal the soccer ball from me.
Oh, yeah?
It's a great moment for Ken, for one thing. A testament to how much more emotionally stable he's become if he's comfortable teasing like this. It's also proof that Ken is still very much able to get people to do what he wants. He's just not a jerk about it anymore like when he was the Emperor. He knows exactly how to push Davis's buttons to get him to Rainbow Bridge. Oh, and then there's the fact that, for once, Davis seems on the brink of giving up, and Ken gives back all of that optimism that Davis has ever given him, even straight up saying he believes Davis can do miracles.
I don't think I can make it, Ken. I'm spent.
Don't give me that, Davis. You've been in tough situations before, but you've always managed to dig deep and come up with something extra, so start digging.
If these two weren't so entertaining, I wouldn't be able to watch this movie over and over. But they are, so I can.
I don't know about you, Ken, but I can sure go for a morning jog right about now.
All right.
Number 1.
Let's get to work. It doesn't matter what happens to me as long as I can accomplish my goal.
Enough!
Oh, you knew it had to be this. The big gimmick of 02 was Jogress Evolution, which ramped up the emotional character writing of Digivolution by having it tied to an emotional connection between two of the human kids, and not just humans and Digimon. Davis and Ken were the first to achieve it, and theirs is by far the best. Although, admittedly, it's hard to top the emotional potency of one character literally talking the other out of committing suicide.
お前がいなくなったら悲しむ人のこと考えろよ。俺はお前をここで行かせて、それでお前が帰ってこなかったら一生後悔する。だから絶対行かせねえ。
It is one of the most powerful moments in the series, maybe even the franchise. And the dub dialogue is even still really solid here. And they skirt around using the word die, but it's still pretty obvious what's happening. And it's sweet in its own way.
So this is what it feels like to have a friend.
Despite this being a kids show, Ken is one of the best portrayals of suicidal thoughts in a character that I've ever seen. Ken was easily the most popular character in 02, getting the most development, and fans who really resonate with his story latch onto this scene in particular. And let's not downplay Davis's involvement here, how adamant he is about not giving up on Ken. He may be the least popular leader in the franchise's history, but the fans who love him do so for this exact reason.
お前がいいと思っても俺が嫌なんだ。本当によ。生きろ。
It's a powerful message of never giving up, letting go of past mistakes and learning to accept yourself, finding that you're stronger than you give yourself credit for, and remembering what you mean to others. Davis and Ken are arguably the closest two Digimon characters ever came to understanding each other perfectly. And whether you like to see them as a couple or really close friends, it's a beautiful reminder of what we're all really here for. To lift each other up. And even if they didn't become canon in the end, I, for one, will always be grateful to Digimon for putting that kind of message out there. Thanks again for watching, and as always, I'm eternally optimistic, and I'll catch you guys next time.
ま、でもクリスマスっていいよな。ごちそう食えるし、ケーキも食えるし、プレゼントもらえるし、学校休みになるし、お正月もすぐ来るし、いいことばっかじゃん。なんかさ、一年中クリスマスだったら最高だよな。何言ってるんだよ。